Second video of the day. This is Pops with suggestions for customers. Okay, so you're a customer. You're having a mechanical problem. Now this can work with anything for the most part, including your appliances or whatever else. Some things like your electronics, that's a different world, but at the same time you still need to have a clear discussion of what's going on. First thing you need to do is pull out your owner's manual if you have one. If you don't, do a little research before you call in. You say, what do you mean? I don't have time for that. You might. At $125 to, in some cases, up to $200 an hour. Yes, I've seen those figures hanging on the wall for charges. Industrial equipment, commercial, construction, $185 to $200 an hour. Demanded by the manufacturer. Yes. Welcome to the world of Wortgen. Lawn and garden stuff, they're running probably $100 an hour. Farm and ag, $125. Construction equipment companies like the Komatsu, Caterpillar, $125 to $150 an hour. If you call for a service truck, you need to have the understanding that there are going to be immediately 3 charges put on that work order. Immediately. There's no sense in even arguing them. First is you called for a service call. There is a service charge for the service call. Then there is a call for the charge for the truck itself. And the last one is commonly one category covering them all, but sometimes there's a separate one, is there's an environmental cleanup charge that they have to charge, in some cases is demanded by the feds, which is disgusting. And there's also a third one, or sometimes a fourth one, of a recycling or whatever charge that they just add them on, they're there. Sometimes it's under miscellaneous, but usually the environmental charge they put on there immediately. So those are charges that hit, just done. Okay, you ask for a service call, $50 to $100. Service truck, just to go on the road, $50 to $100, sometimes more. Environmental service charges, they can vary depending on who they are because they're figuring cleanup and oil disposals and other things. I've seen charges anywhere between $5 and $100 plus, $150, $200, depends on what they can get away with. Now, some companies like Syracuse Supply used to have years ago, we're talking over 40 years ago, probably 45 plus years ago. Caterpillar, Syracuse Supply down in the New York State area here. The instant any machine got a work order, there was a immediate $60 charge for a tub of anti-seize. Caterpillar anti-seize. Every single job. It didn't matter if you were putting in one injector, replacing a fan belt, didn't matter. $60 service charge for a tub of Never Seize. Why? Because Caterpillar wanted Never Seize on everything that resembled a fastener. Just that simple. So there's a lot of different charges like that can go on. What did I just say to you? I just said the instant you call in there, you've already got between $200 and $300 of a service charge that happens in construction and even ag. There's some certain charges that are on there. Not that high, but they're going to be there. So the instant you make that phone call for someone to come out on a service call, you better have just $200 to throw away. Don't even blink, don't even argue, it's going to be there. You can't argue it away. That's set by the higher ups. Service manager, even the branch manager, can't do anything about it. You're done. Now, can they give you discounts otherwise on the job? Possibly, to cover for it if they feel the need to. But those basic charges are on there. All done. You might be paying for pig pads, whatever else. So you've got that understanding. The instant you pick up the phone, you dial it, and the service manager comes on, and you say, I need somebody to come out here. It's whoosh. You just lost, say, $300. It's gone. Unless you call back and reject it before he leaves the shop. And even then, you're probably going to get an appointment charge. Probably $50 to $100 just for screwing around. Yeah, because they could have been working on somebody else's job for $125 to $200 an hour. you're going to get charged in most cases. If you're a good customer, probably not. But they know they make it up on you. So you call, you got a problem. What's a good one? Oh, yeah, you get a fuel system code. Let's say a common one. Common one for Cummins, Komatsu, and some others even use the same number. But for Komatsu, it was called CA559. I forgot what the John Deere designation is. They use SAE codes. And that's a fuel rail pressure low, or problem getting fuel rail pressure. That may be that everything else in the engine's running fine. What does it mean? Fuel system plugged, usually filters. That's a common one. So you want somebody to come out and replace the filters. It's 50-50 shot. Usually both filters are getting replaced and starting over fresh. You say, why both? They only need, yeah. Usually it's just the primary filter, but when they come out, they're going to probably, the usual technician's going to want to replace both. Don't even argue with them, just let them go. That's expensive. Yeah, at $100 a filter, you just spent somewhere between $400 and $500, and you haven't even gotten the actual working service charge. The truck hasn't rolled a wheel. Why? You called in and said, it's not running right. It's coming up with this code, and you read them the code. However, you read them the code. It came up, and descriptions there, fuel system problem. Immediately, they're going to put filters in, and you're going to get charged for all this stuff, $400 to $500 before they ever leave the shop. Stop. Don't argue. Listen carefully. The importance of that is they are bringing the fuel filters, because that's the suspected problem immediately. You could have a problem with the fuel itself, like I ran into one time. I drained some stuff out of a fuel system, brought it back and showed the guys, and this tank needs to be pulled out and flushed or restarted. And I said, there's probably other damage in the system. I said, this is the minimum. The customer ended up doing themselves, but there was obvious evidence that I had everything in there but diesel fuel, okay? I had kerosene, there was Coleman fuel. It acted like there was a little gas or something else. I mean, it was bad. But I didn't know that before I left. All I knew it was a tractor that wouldn't run right. So, what did we have? We had, you've called your fuel system problem. They have filters, everything on there, and you've got $400 to $500 charged out before wheel rolls. What else? Well, the instant they're starting to load the truck, the clock's ticking. You say, no, wait a minute. Yeah, he hasn't even left the office to hit the time clock yet, and all this stuff has just been registered on there. If the service manager is doing his job properly, he says, yeah, it's a fuel system problem, I'll send you with filters. Bang, 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 it's all there. $400 to $500. Now he gets it and clocks on. You say, well, no, wait a minute. No. He may actually think that there could be, because of past history, other trouble. They're still going to send the filters. It might be something else. However, so now they have to be sure the computer's up to date, that they got the battery charged, or plug it in for the trip to be sure it's charged. They're going to be sure that they have the tools and gauges to check your fuel system pressure, which if it's an ag shop, that's hit or miss, man, because they don't pay the mechanics enough to have it themselves, and the stuff that's in the shop they may have to repair. That may end up on your work order too, unfortunately. They have to cover it somehow. And it unfortunately is the next guy ends up being charged for all the fumbling around to get the fuel system stuff, because the last guy may have had a problem with it and didn't bother to fix it, just threw it on the shelf. I've got a previous YouTube video for that one. So, now, you've made the phone call. You've said there's a fuel system problem. They've got the work order made. He's got the tools, packed them up, put them in the truck. Everything's all ready to go. Now he's in the truck and going down the road. There's also a mileage charge that has just begun the instant that wheel rolled. Not all cases, but most cases, there is a mileage charge. If they don't get it from the truck, they go on to MapQuest or Google or wherever else, and they get a basic general mileage to go there. One guy, service manager, knew that the long trip was the easiest way to get there, but the service writer was like, yeah, we charge them for the short trip. Anyway, sometimes you get off on that if you treated them right. So, now you've got road service charge. Well, they know it's, say, 10 miles. A lot of them are $3.50 a mile. That's a common one for the last, I don't know how many years. So you're talking $350 just got charged. Or $35, I'm sorry. $35 just got charged on top of that. So now no matter what happened, you got charged a minimum of $450 plus a half hour to an hour's labor to get out the door. So anywhere between another, say, 60 some dollars an hour, so $60, $70, we'll just say as a rough figure. So I don't have to split the 60. Or if you want, just say it's 60. That's added on there. So you just broke $500 no matter which way you look at it. Truck hasn't even got to your place yet. That's one way. You're $35. So that's $70. You're heading for $600 now. The truck hasn't got to you yet. Some charge for special tools. You need that tool set that goes out there? That's another $50 to $100. So now you're $600 range. Nothing's been done to your machine. And that's a common charge on the upper, when you get into the higher end of ag and when you get into construction equipment. Very common. You say, well, that's just, and in some cases they have an idea of the job before it leaves by the code. What it most likely is, sometimes they have half the work order almost printed out before it even gets to the job site. So they have an idea of this, they have 2 or 3 jobs lined up that they know what it's going to cost. It already has a shop charge rate for some of it, or a flat rate plus charge. And I said, what do you mean by that? Well, flat rate plus. It's a flat rate plus whatever else they incur with the job. So some of the stuff can be scripted before they ever get to you. How do you prevent some of this? All right. Now that we looked at the truck is on location at your place, and you already know for a fact you got $500 to $600 gone. Now this is ag and construction in general is going to be roughly in this neighborhood. So, and I used to tell customers that 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. As soon as I show up in the job site, $500 is gone. So what? Yeah, there's certain charges. You get past a certain radius, bang, it's $500. It doesn't matter. I haven't even done anything yet. You're going to get charged about $500. And the one guy was incensed. And then he went through the different charges that were on it. Never would have called you if I'd have known that. So, well, you got to ask. So now you've got a list of charges. You know what it's roughly going to cost you there. How can you help keep the rest of it down? First off is pull out your owner's manual if you have one. And if you don't, go find one. I say that in the years past, it didn't mean that much. Now anymore, it means quite a bit. Let's just say we're going with the same fuel system problem for now. You've put the filters on. That may or may not help. Now here's the funny thing. You put the fuel filters on and it didn't do any good. I've got news for you. If you didn't have OEM filters and the OEM is coming out to look at your machine, you're going to have your filters taken off that are brand spanking new and OEM filters put on because they have to stand behind their work. Unless they know the filters you've put on there are equivalent for a fact. In other words, you've got a Komatsu, you got cat filters on there. If the cat crosses over, you got it. A lot of Komatsu filters are made by Fleetguard, but not all of them. Cummins owns Fleetguard, and most, not all, but most of their filters are from Fleetguard. So if you put a Fleetguard style filter on there, Wick's Best, whatever else that company can say, okay, this is a decent, not you, that company. They have to stand behind the work. You've already got $500 or $600 charge. So you got 2 fuel filters on there. It's another $200. Is that really going to make that much of a difference at this point? Probably not. And then later on, if everything works right, they find out it is the filters, and you have poor quality filters that were on there, or poorly, how can I say it, poorly cross-reference, which several companies out there have horrible, not poor, horrible cross-references. So they need to come with OEM filters. That's just it. Now, how else can you slow this down? You change the filters, you accept it that they're going to put the other filters on there because yours didn't do anything for it. Well, they may leave those filters on there and do some preliminary testing before they put the others on. And they go through. What do you need to describe? You need to describe the problem when you call in. Say, I got a code 559. It might be CA 559. CA was something that they used for crank angle originally, and it just became the designation for engine in the Komatsu world. Well, anyway, Cummins uses it similar, it seems. I can't remember theirs. But anyway, you just say, I got a code such and such. Well, they're going to start asking a slew of questions. You can help them out when you call in and say, look, I got a code, CA559, and my machine darn near stalled. Did it? No, it's still running. I let it sit there and, cool down for a minute, fired it right back up and ran it again. Ah, okay. So they are definitely coming with filters then. And they're going to do some further testing. So why? Because they let it sit, come down to a certain point. When the fuel system caught up with itself, now they can start over again. Or maybe he said, I was doing such and such, and it threw this code a couple times. Kept running. And it's a fuel system code, so I figured I'd try it again, but when I was working over here, it didn't throw the code. Well, now they know it might be load involved, so they know it may or may not be filters. Filters are where they're going to start to be sure it's good, but they know where to start the testing immediately. Did the engine pull down and stall completely? No, it just pulled down and threw the warning. Okay, that makes it easy for them. Or the engine did stall. Now they know the severity of the situation. 559 turns into, I think, a 2311 code. So you may see two codes that are in there. You saw the 559, you missed the other code. Well, what's that mean? One means level 1, level 2. This one means bad. This is really bad. System problem. It's not system plugged, it's system problem. But because you gave them a description, now they know how to operate the machine. The first thing in troubleshooting is know the system, so you're hoping the tech knows it when they come out. The next part of it is the tech needs to be able to, how can you say it? Tech needs to be able to create the situation again. Recreate the problem. They got a fancier word. Assimilate. That's the fancy one from way back. But they need to be able to recreate the problem, the situation, the event. They need to be able to recreate the code. What conditions were you operating under? If you can give them a full description beforehand, the service manager may or may not write it down. Most are too lazy. They'll say, yep, they'll put down CA559, engine quit. Well, you find out the engine didn't quit, so you can help the service manager. He's on the road. He just dropped on site. You're describing it to him. You may have said it all before. Sit there and they say, well, so what have you got? I said, well, I was working along over here and got a CA559 code. Then I thought, well, what's going on here? And then after a while, I let it sit down, sit and idle and cool down, and it went away. Or I shut the machine off and then went to start it back up and the code's gone. It's running fine. So I went back and ran it for so many minutes and now it's doing it again. Okay. So what did you do after that? So, well, I kept running it, and the problem kept popping up. And I thought, went into lunch, came back out, come over here and drive it here, I don't have a problem. Wow. Two different areas. Now he knows it's a workload-related fuel system problem. And he knows also that it's just, don't do that. This is less of a load than that one. So now he starts asking, did it act like it was lugging down more than normal? I was like, well, over here it was. Over there it was just fluffing around. Didn't seem to have a problem. Ding, ding, ding. Now the guy has an idea of several places to start looking. Is it a vacuum fuel restriction? A filter fuel restriction? A pressure delivery side fuel restriction? Or is it failure of the high pressure pump to put out enough fuel? Which may or may not be true because the code says it. That's the problem. So over here, is it a restriction to the common rail? Probably not, but it might be the injectors have a problem demanding too much fuel, more fuel because they're worn out than the computer. And he has to go through all of that to be sure. Determine that there's not too high a vacuum or almost blocked. Determine that there's not a restriction of junk inside the filter head and the filter problem. Be sure that it can feed into the low pressure fuel delivery pump, but make sure it's able to develop enough pressure there consistently, because even if the high pressure pump can't keep up with the fuel system that's demanded by the computer, it still has to be able to deliver far more fuel than the fuel system would ever demand. So is that there? And they need to know what you've just done tells them how to go through the fuel system. The other part of it is, did it stall? In some cases it does, and they need to know, because that'll tell them the severity of it and give some guys an idea that what causes this machine to stall might be something different. So they need to fire it up and do a preliminary check, operational check. Does it sound good? Does it drive normal? And some of the guys will put it through in the computer test. Power balance tests, fuel injection tests. They can cancel the injectors and work on them anymore. The old school, they have to crack them. But you've given them the information that even in the new world, they know how to go through the fuel system itself. Was it skipping? Did it just stall? Did it throw the code, but it was still running okay? Those things are important for them to know. What was your temperature at the time? How about your oil pressure? All of that, yeah, some of it's stored in the computer if they know to pull it out. But if you've already fired up the machine and run it again, that stored information sometimes is written over and disappeared. So your description's critical for it. So now he gets up through, he goes running through, and how many hours are on it? He sees that. If they know how many hours on it before they leave, then you have an idea definitely some of the tools to bring. Not that they're never going to know until they get there. They're just saying this code popped up. It could be this many things. I bring this much stuff. But if you also tell them I've had the problem for a while and they keep getting these other warnings and now it changes the scope of everything. But you need to tell them that. If you tell them I got 559, that's what I need you here for, and then you tell them tech when he gets there, I've had these other problems over a period of time, that's critical to him knowing everything. I mean, did a track lock up on a crawler machine? Did you have trouble with a wheel or steering or any other series of problems that may have caused this? Well, why do I say that? Well, I've had a couple of cases where the problem was the load on the machine that they put that overloaded the engine. And it threw a fuel system code because it was pumping out more fuel than it should have because it was working far harder, lugging down too far, too long a period of time, and it threw a code to stop the person from doing it. It threw a fuel code to avoid an overheat. And the tech needs to know that. All those things are important to it. There's some others where they were sucking air, didn't know where it came from. There's others that there was a leak and it was just throwing fuel out all over the place. These are things that the tech needs to see and know and work with. What gear were you in? What speed were you going? What were you working on? The tech needs to know that. There's no sense in telling the service manager. I don't know of any service manager in 43 years that ever cared to go into detail. They want to know your main complaint, what happened. They want to know if there's codes for it, if that machine has codes. And what were you doing when it happened? So you tell them I was plowing, that threw a 559 code. You wouldn't be plowing with anything that threw that type of code, but still, same idea. You're plowing ground and threw a 559 code, so you pulled the throttle back and stopped, and it was beeping away, and you let it sit for a minute, and then it went away. Or you shut it off and started it back up, and the code went away, and you kept on driving. Maybe the drive time kept getting shorter. Maybe the temperature kept going up outside or on the machine. All those things when you get there can take your service. Write it down. That can take your service technician and save sometimes a day's worth of work if he knows where to look and how to look at it. The other part is, where are you going to put them? You're going to put them in a pole barn? Ventilation? You're going to put them in an open pole barn? Is he going to end up working out in the field? Anything you can do to make that technician's life easier. And sometimes inside is not the best. Why do I say that? Because I've worked on excavators, they put them inside, and there it was nice, and outside it was literally 20 below zero, and inside it was only 5 below zero. Because I backed my warm truck in there. We were doing track work. No. It didn't help us at all. In fact, I ended up taking the truck outside so that we could run it continuously. Because the air compressor at the shop Nobody told us how to turn it on and found out later it didn't work. So all those things are important. And you say, he brings a truck, I want him to use his stuff. Well, if he's in the field, yeah. If he's in your working shop, everything he doesn't have to pull out is one less piece of time you don't have to pay for. Tools? Nah, probably not. Let him use his own tools. But I've got all this right. Yeah, you do, and you know where it is. He doesn't. He's fumbling. I know she's are out there too, but we're going with he today because it's a 95% chance it's a he. Women don't want to do that kind of work, not the normal one. We're the slaves of society, man. So anyway, those are descriptions that can help you and shorten your time with them. Now remember, you make that phone call. There's a list of charges. They're all there. Ask about them so you know. Say, what do you mean? Just say, well, I need a guy to come out. What's it going to cost me for him to, get here? What are my charges before he even gets here? Ask. Don't be afraid. But that's after the description. He'll start the work order. He'll open it up. Say, hey, I've got a tractor that stopped here. I need a service guy. So, all right. Who is this? Where are you? So you get your name, your address, your phone number, location of the machine immediately. What did the machine do? Well, I was plowing ground and it threw a 559 code and it pretty much ran out of power and stopped. Okay. Is that all? No, I was able to fire it up and get it going again, but it still did it again, so I'm calling you. All right. Have you done anything to it since? Yes, I put a set of fuel filters on. Bring your own if you have to, but I got them on there and didn't make any difference. All right. How much is it going to cost me to get the truck out of the door? What do you mean? What's it going to cost to get me the truck to land here? I said your mileage, your hourly. Ask all that stuff to have an idea, unless you already know. If you already know, then don't even blink about it. Don't ask the question, nothing. They'll let you know if charges go up or down, usually. And they'll show up, and you'll be all set. But in the meantime, tell them I have a list of everything else that I've done to it. I've got a list of things that we've done to the machine lately. If you have any printouts, if you could send them so I have them too here at the shop on the farm, then I would appreciate that. And then when the technician shows up, he has your list there. You have a list there written down what you've done recently, and you can describe to him the problem. And you may stand there for half an hour. Pay it. He'll be writing down a list of everything or thinking it, the younger ones in their head, where to go. And sometimes you're going to have two other problems to live with. One of them is they may call to another guy at the shop or at another branch that we've run into this problem before. What was it you recommended? And the other one is the computer is going to be opened up, and that's where their service manuals are in most tractors anymore. They stopped almost every company back around 2005. Almost every company went dead silent. You have to go get a book, pay for a book to be shipped in. Nobody has it on the shelf anymore because they can access it online with a computer. They'll either have it hard in the computer memory or they'll have it on Wi-Fi, or if you have your Wi-Fi there, or if they have it by the cell system, and they'll call the thing up and they will have the latest updates on your system too, where there might be some recommendations under that code. Let them do their research. Should have done it before they got here. No, not necessarily. Once they're on site, the service manager's not breathing down their throat. Once they're on site, they have your full description of what's there. Because more than once I've showed up on site and found out that the hydraulic problem of no power was an engine that was dogging. Or in another case, a hydraulic power of no problem was a sticking valve. Or another case, it was a plugged air filter. The simplest things on the planet can cause all of these problems. But they need your description to get it. Anyway, hope that helps. Maybe save you some money. Maybe it confuses you, but go through the list. You've run the tractor and you have an idea of what's going on, roughly what it did. Maybe you don't know what the exact problem is. Number 2, short description to the service manager on there, because he doesn't care. He just cares about the end result and to keep his fanny out of trouble. There's no service manager on the planet that cares to talk to you about your actual problem for you to fix it on site. They'll talk like it, but they really don't give a rat's rear end. So, give them a short description of what it is. Tell them you need a man to come there. Number 3, If you need to, ask him all the charges. Otherwise, assume there's big charges that are coming for your mileage, for the environmental charges, and a truck charge that's already put on there for it. Some actually have a fuel charge to go on with that. The other one is your mileage charge that's coming out to the site, and all those are going to get hit. But when he gets there, if you have a list of A, what you were doing when the problem happened, B, a description of anything else electronic that came up that caused you, so you've got symptoms, signs, and then the conditions that it was under that you were plowing. Maybe it was a hot, he knows that day, if it's the same day or the day after, that's easy for him, they have an idea. And what were you pulling and what ground were you in at the time, or combine or whatever it was that you're running at the time, so they know. And then the technician from that point on will have some questions for you, and if you wrote down everything you knew before that, and he'll have an idea of either reading them or you'll be able to read them back to them, and it'll hit you when you're reading it, not him just reading it, but you reading it to him, what you wrote down. Then you may have an idea of, oh yeah, I forgot, and be able to fill in the blank as he asks questions. Don't throw him all the information. Just tell him I wrote down a list of the stuff that was going on around it too that was kind of weird. And there's some of the stuff that, yeah, that it wasn't overheating, there was oil pressure, yada, yada, yada. And I did change the air filter, I did change the fuel filters, it didn't do anything. Now the guy's in the mood where, okay, I can whittle this down faster. And he'll hook up and go through his checks. You can save yourself sometimes a full day's worth of time. And you can save yourself another half day's time by having a good, reasonable place for them to work in. Hope that helps. 31 minutes, 44 seconds. Catch you later on the next one. This is Pops at Howard's Repair Service signing off.